In the trick to keeping rescue dogs is, actually making sure that you care for them news. A family who has a sign on their window saying rescued is my favorite breed might have had as many as 100 dogs die in their home as a 9-year-old is saved from the house of horror with the foul stench of ammonia. Well, we do always appreciate those people who love the pups and want to save them from, the unkind fate. But, maybe if you, fed them occasionally or took care of them in some way, that would be good. Maybe you're good with the rescuing, not so good with the follow-up, and also not really treating the 9-year-old very well. Let's learn a little bit more about this house of horrors. A 9-year-old child was removed Tuesday from a New Jersey home of horrors after an out-of-state animal rescue group raised concern about the couple who had been, let's call it, fostering dogs, but, maybe less with the successful aspect of that. According to the Township Police Department, the conditions at the Main Street corner home where the residents 35 and 32 were living with a young child were extremely poor. The police couldn't help noticing when they went to the house, conditions were not exactly great. They noticed some obvious problems when they went to the house. The police chief, for their part, said during a press conference they've never seen anything like it. Some of the dogs were still alive. Well, I suppose that's something. There were a large number of dogs that have since been deceased and were in various portions of decay. So, yeah, we are taking the dogs off the street, and some of them are still living, some of them not. They're just sort of laying around the house and decaying, just in the house, just decaying in the house, and that's what's going on. The chief of police also remarked, based on what they found, that they were somewhat concerned that a 9-year-old child had been living in the home, sleeping in the home, and eating in the home. We think that maybe this is not the optimal conditions for the 9-year-old with the, furry friends, some of whom are not living, some of whom are in various states of decay. We think that maybe the 9-year-old, this is not the house for them. After receiving a tip about the homeowners through a North Carolina-based animal rescue and witnesses who had viewed the property, authorities executed a search and found both living and deceased dogs, where conditions were extremely poor. The home was filled with 14 living dogs and in excess of 30 deceased dogs throughout the living space of the home. Can't help noticing that for every living dog you have 2 dead dogs just lying about in the living room, just sitting there. Okay. There are also apparently cats and rabbits, but it was unclear how many. One dog apparently was in such poor health that euthanization was required, so let's take that number to 31. The cops believe that as many 100 dogs have died in the home. So we found 30, but we don't think that's where it stopped. We think that there might be in other parts of the building or possibly buried on the property. The chief of police say that they found a burial spot near the home. Pictured here is the home, which is apparently a den of death in Evesham Township, New Jersey. Going great. It's just going great over here in New Jersey, yeah. The child who was found in the home, fortunately still living somehow, is now in the custody of the Garden State's Division of Child Protection. Child services can sometimes, go too far, and child services sometimes denies people their due process and sometimes does a bad. Child services sometimes does a bad. This is not, exactly one of them, though. Child services seems to have done a good on this one. The couple, for their part, are charged with, among other things for the moment, second-degree animal cruelty, third-degree animal cruelty and neglect, and they signal that, many more charges are pending once they figure out exactly how many animals are dead. So, we have some placeholder charges at the moment. We're not sure what to charge them with, so we got, a placeholder charge, but, we're kind of looking and, we're still counting. The local affiliate reported that responding authorities were overcome by ammonia to the point that they had to don hazmat suits. A 9-year-old child was living in the home. that the police could not enter because of the smell of ammonia. That's definitely something that's going to raise that probable cause. The strong smell of ammonia. That's going to be something that's going to get the police's attention. Can't help noticing it's what we call readily apparent. Readily apparent in plain sight. So, yeah. There was a sign on their house that said, "Rescued is my favorite breed." That was visible outside the home. Okie dokie. While the people were booked into the jail, they were initially evaluated at the hospital for an unrelated medical condition and will be booked at a later time when the condition is, resolved. Amazingly enough, may not also be in great health themselves. Pictured here are the couple. Super duper. After news of the suspect charges broke, there was more on the scope of the cruelty. Tell us more. A rescue group saying, "Our heart is broken. Shadow is now dead due to a sorry rescue that was supposed to be a good rescue in New Jersey, and state that has great animal laws." They've got 26 puppies and 3 mamas, Roxy, Brandy, and Shadow from us. So apparently these people are, the suppliers of the dogs, and they're a little bit upset about it. They gave the couple the dogs, to be rescue foster, thinking, that they had given them, a good home. And apparently they gave them 26 puppies and 3 mamas. And, we're not really super happy with how they dealt with the situation. After seeing a picture of, them looking too thin, we insist on picking up the mamas. We're shocked to learn Shadow died. Also, one of Brandy's died while in their care. The animal rights group, for their part, also blames the animal rescue for the alleged role in the case, saying, quote, "Yesterday, one of our donors picks up Roxy and Brandy from New Jersey and took them to their home. The shape of our babies is totally disgusting. A police report was filed and many other dogs, cats, and rabbits have been removed from the foster home. Shadow's death will not be in vain. And we'll make sure that the place is shut down." As of Wednesday, the Facebook page for the animal rescue that was the House of Death is no longer active. So apparently they lost their Facebook page status. How very sad. A cached-in website archive version of the animal rescue site that was the House of Death said that it's a small, loving organization that does everything in their power to bring the sick back to good health, socialize the shy and timid, and find the perfect home for every cat and dog. We want to make sure all of our rescues are healthy, happy, and properly suited. They're not doing very good in furthering the mission statement, I'd take note. Thus, that brings us to the end of the story of Rebecca Hallbeck and Brandon Larceny, pictured here from New Jersey, with their sign at their house that says, "Rescued is my favorite breed." We couldn't help noticing that when we arrived that, there were 14 living dogs and 30 dead ones, and also a 9-year-old child. And also the smell of ammonia was so high, we had to put on hazmat suits. And so, all that. And so we've, removed the child from the home thinking maybe this is not the suitable place for them to be. So, yeah, that's what's going on in New Jersey. And at least for the moment, that brings us to the end of discussion of this case.